While I wait, I'm gonna spin my dreidel. It's Hanukkah, gotta have a dreidel. I'm terrible at this. Hi everyone, I'm Schiff. I am the pastry chef at Gage and Tollner in Brooklyn, New York. I am also the recipe developer and in-house chef at Slow Up. Today, I'm here in my kitchen in Fort Greene, and I'm going to show you how to make my great-grandmother's very famous latkes. I'm also going to show you some really fun ways where you can use the leftovers and other dishes you can do with them. Let's get started. So I'm starting with grated russet potatoes, and I like to use a russet potato, which looks like this, because of the amount of starch that it has in it. It makes a really nice latke. Woo! And then grated yellow onions. I grate them by hand, and then I just place them over a colander to get out as much liquid as possible, which you can see here. They really do release quite a bit of liquid. You want to get out as much as possible before you fry your latkes. So once your potatoes and your onions have drained and released all of that water, transfer them to a big mixing bowl. Onions, potatoes in the bowl. I'm gonna add a little bit of kosher salt. Not too much, because we're gonna season them when they come out of the oil. A couple pinches. Then I'm gonna add the eggs. So this is where things can get a little tricky and you really have to use your latke instincts here. I'm gonna add 3 eggs to this, along with a little bit of all-purpose flour. So the flour, it's gonna be probably between a 1/4 and a 1/3 cup. I'm the queen of eyeballing, and I know my great-grandmother was probably as well, so I'm just kind of doing it like she would have done it. And using a spoon, a spatula, or your hands, I'm just gonna mix it all up. You want it to sort of hold together, but if it's got too much flour, you're gonna get like a kind of gummy latke. You really got to do this by feel. You don't want it too wet either, and you certainly don't want it too eggy, because then you're going to sort of lose the potato. It's going to be more of like a croquette. So the first latke that you fry, I always say, is sort of like the sacrificial latke. It's like when you make pancakes, the first one sort of, you know, might not come out. I'm going to heat my oil. We'll see how it goes, and I'll show you how to adjust it if we need to. For frying latkes, I like to use just regular canola oil, vegetable oil. I do about a 1/2 inch in my skillet. Growing up, we had one of those like electric griddles. Those are great as well. You know, anything you like to fry in is totally great for this. I want my oil to be about 325 degrees. The best way to test it is to just take a little piece of potato and put it in the oil. When you see it start to sizzle, you're good. You don't want your oil smoking. If your oil starts to smoke, it's way too hot. Turn it off, take a step back, let it cool down. While your oil heats up, make sure that you have set up a landing station for your latkes as they come out of the oil. So I like to just do a sheet tray with a little rack set on top of it, and paper towels underneath, because it makes my cleanup a little bit easier. This allows any extra oil to just kind of fall away, so you get a really nice crispy latke. I take about a 1/4 cup of the mixture and just kind of scoop it together and very gently, very carefully into the oil. I'm gonna let this one fry. We're gonna test it and just see how the texture is. Once we're confident with our mixture, I can do like 3 or 4 at a time. I'm a purist in terms of my latke toppings. Sour cream is my favorite. Applesauce is traditional. Some people want to do sour cream with caviar, a little bit of smoked salmon, maybe some caramelized onions. Those are all kind of traditional latke toppings. You don't want to rush it. If your oil is too hot, you're going to get a kind of burnt, very quickly cooked outside, and the inside is going to be raw, which we don't want. So this mixture feels really nice so far. Just to troubleshoot a little, if it was falling apart, if it just felt really, really delicate and you were scared to flip it over because you feel like it's going to fall apart, add a little more flour. a tablespoon at a time until you have a nice mixture that you can just sort of pick up and pat together, and it's not gonna just like ooze everywhere. So once you see it start to get a little golden brown on the edges, you can very carefully, very gently flip it. Always flip away from you when working with hot oil. This is looking like a beautiful Hanukkah latke. I'm so excited. It's the best. This is like one of the most nostalgic, awesome smells. This is Hanukkah to me. 2 to 3 minutes per side. So just look for golden brown, look for crispy. It's a beautiful golden latke. So just scoop out, transfer, then immediately sprinkle of kosher salt so it really sticks to the latke as it cools. And now that I know my mixture is exactly what I want it to be, I'm just gonna get right to frying. You want to make sure they have, you know, enough space to get crispy. Yeah, so I'm gonna do 3 at a time. While I wait, I'm gonna spin my dreidel. It's Hanukkah, gotta have a dreidel. I'm terrible at this. That was not a bad spin. It was mediocre. Oof, terrible spin. Come on, Gimel. Oh, no, none. I have the worst luck. The mark also, another thing about latkes is like, you want to see these nice like little sort of extra crispy fried edges. It's beautiful. Also, would like to, you know, start a campaign to normalize eating latkes year-round. Like, we don't have to just eat them on Hanukkah. Yeah, they're a special treat for Hanukkah, but like, you want to make a latke in July? Go for it. You have my support. Ugh, my house smells like Hanukkah. I love it. Oh, we're in business. We are in Latke Town. Around the outside, you can see the flaky salt. Crunchy, salty, crispy outside, just like nice oniony potatoes in the center. So now you know how to make my great-grandmother's famous latkes, and now I'm going to show you some really fun things you can do with the leftovers. I'm going to show you how to make morning after Hanukkah Latke Breakfast Hash. So this is like the perfect breakfast after a kind of crazy Hanukkah party. So once the onions start to brown a little bit, I'm going to add some sliced peppers. Just start to get those to soften. Pinch of salt. I'm going to add some sliced jalapeno. I love spicy food, but you know, do you. A little black pepper. And you just want the peppers to just like get nice and soft and sauteed. That can take a little while, so just keep an eye on it, give it a little stir and a little shake every now and then. Okay, my peppers are beautiful and soft. The onions have a really nice caramelization on them, and now I'm going to add my leftover latkes. So I just break them apart just into little bite-sized bits. And I just want to put them right into the pan. I kind of clear some space for them so they have surface area directly on the pan, and they can just start to like re-crisp and caramelize a bit. Kind of want everything in a nice single layer so it can really sear. And it's very tempting to stir it all around at this point, but you don't want to, because you want a really nice crust to reform on those leftover latkes. Add a little pimenton, paprika. It's nice and spicy, a little smoky, totally optional if it's not your thing. And I'm just going to let these do their thing for about a couple minutes and get really nice and crispy before we add our eggs and our cheese. So once they have a nice crust, yeah, I'm just going to give them a gentle fold. I don't want them to break up too much. And then I'm going to create 3 or 4 little pockets or wells, and I'm gonna crack my eggs right into them. Amazing. Oh, this smells so good. Once your whites start to set a little bit, I'm gonna add some cheese, kind of sprinkle that all over. If you have a lid, you can cover it, and that'll just help those whites set up and cook a little bit. I actually do have one. Just cover it. Oh, it smells amazing. It smells smoky and fried and oniony and peppery. It's like the perfect morning after brunch breakfast situation. Let's check it out. Oh yes. Oh, this looks amazing. I like to finish it with some herbs. I have some parsley and chives, whatever you want. Cilantro would be delicious, basil, whatever you got. And that's it. I am so excited to dig into this. You get some crispy latke, you get some cheese, some eggs, some peppers, onions. Okay, so let's move on to the third dish, which is a play on a Spanish tortilla, and it's going to use the rest of the leftover latkes. I got the idea to make it with latkes actually from Chef Jose Andres, who has a version that he does with potato chips, which I think is so brilliant. So it's really easy. I like a smaller pan. It's a little 8-inch skillet. Just some everyday olive oil, thinly sliced onion, and I just want the onion to kind of cook down and get a little translucent. While those cook, I'm just going to crack and beat my eggs real quick. Just check on your onions, give them a little zhuzh as they need it. When the onions are almost where you want them, take your leftover latke and just like before, start to pull it apart. And then just a few gentle pulls to kind of distribute the onions and the latkes together. If you feel like anything is in danger of sticking, add a little more olive oil. You don't want tortilla that's totally stuck to the pan when you try and flip it. When you're ready, add your eggs. And I kind of like a low-medium heat on these. Press the potatoes down to, or your latkes down to make sure they're, I like them fully submerged. And as it starts to set, just run your spatula around the edges just to make sure nothing's sticking. You really need to let it mostly set before you try and flip it. If you flip it too early, you're just gonna have like a big mess, and it's gonna be like half-cooked scrambled eggs everywhere. Okay, so just with your spatula, run around the edges, make sure nothing is sticking. And then the flip, this part can be a little intense and scary, so just be careful, take your time. I like to invert a plate on top, and then very quickly I'm gonna flip it, and then I'm gonna slide it back into the pan. If you think your pan needs a little more oil, by all means, do that. And then, as quickly and gracefully as you can, right back in. Just gonna make sure it gets nice and cooked and crisp on the bottom. I like to have a cutting board ready. I'm just gonna slide it out right onto my cutting board. I always like to finish it with some fresh herbs. Whatever you've got works. And that's it. The Latke Spanish tortilla. This is totally the type of thing I eat with my hands. It's delicious. Oniony, eggy, potatoey, Such an easy, delicious way to use up some leftover latkes. Happy Hanukkah. Okay, so today you learned how to make my great-grandmother's famous Hanukkah latkes, a perfect breakfast Latke hash, and a Spanish-inspired tortilla with the leftover latkes. Have a really happy Hanukkah. Tell me what you're gonna make, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to Food and Wine's YouTube channel.